Hello everyone, I am Rinne, and today I present to you a time-lapse video with some commentary on my thought process. And the program I will be using is Clip Studio Paint. Okay, so starting off, we have our sketch. Set the layer on linear burn, and start base coloring. Something I always try to do with my base color is to give it a little gradient. Other than helping me find where the light source is, it also helps make things look less flat. I also use a clipping layer on top of my sketch to adjust the color of the lines to the base color. Sometimes I do this in the shading process as well. So what we're gonna do now is adding the base shading. I typically shade light to dark. This may have come from my background in watercolors, and I guess it just stuck with me when I moved to digital. Something I've been doing lately though is to define the shape of the cheeks more. I think it adds more depth than the typical airbrush blush. And depending on how much you emphasize the cheeks, it can also help convey certain emotions. I know it doesn't look like much, but there are reasons why we're gonna leave it like this for now. One is because we're gonna refine it again soon, and the other is because I want this piece to have a kind of refreshing vibes, if that makes sense. And one of the ways I could come up with to achieve that is by having our character use a more natural makeup. It's more evident in the hair shading, but I try not to stress over how clean the face shading is, since we're gonna refine and paint over it afterwards anyways. As long as I'm able to capture the form and the vibes I'm looking for, then that's enough. And now we're jumping back to refine the face. Lately I've been painting over my eyes instead of shading them within the lines. This is mostly because when I sketch these days, I directly fill them in, and trying to make lines out of them afterwards just stresses me out too much. So I decided to do this instead. I do still airbrush some blush on, but I try to mind the shape we were trying to craft earlier. And erase some parts out so it's not so overwhelming. The flower I decided to add to this piece is a lotus. I specifically chose this flower because I think it looks soft, fresh, and elegant, and it's a summer flower, which makes it fit my OC perfectly. And also because I just think it looks pretty. I wanted the flower to seem like it's glowing from the inside. So aside from the natural gradient lotus petals have, I made the inner parts of the petals a lighter color. The outfit I've designed for this piece is styled from Mochi Shongrushun, so I went and gathered some references beforehand to help guide me how to do the clothing folds. And in this case, I am so glad that I own a top with a similar folding style as the one that I envisioned, that I can also use as a reference. However, I made some modifications, one of which is to make the pleats wider to make it look more sophisticated while keeping the fresh, youthful vibes. I had a hard time deciding how I wanted to shade the clothes, and in the end, I decided light and minimal shading would work the best. And that concludes the base shading step. Okay, next we merge everything into one layer and start the refining process. I do this in no particular order, honestly. I usually just start with the ones that bothered me the most during the base shading stage. And typically, of course, it's the hair. Sometimes I paint over directly on the merge layer. Other times I use a new layer and merge it down afterwards. There's really no right way to do this. My OC has ombre hair, and sometimes I don't have the brain cells to think about how I'm gonna shade it during the base shading stage. So I deal with it here, adding some extra color with a layer of linear burn. felt that the shape of the bangs weren't distinguishable enough. So I added a little liner to help with that. And yeah, we paint over everything else too. Refine the details and clean up traces of the sketch. And once that's done, it's time to add the finishing touches. Fixing small details we've overlooked earlier. Adding some extra color correction. And some overlays. And that's it. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to comment them down below. Who knows, I'll have another. This is my first time making a video like this, so your feedback is greatly appreciated. Oh yeah, I also have the real-time footage of this video up on my Ko-fi if anyone is interested in that. Okay then. I hope you guys have a good day, good night, good afternoon, whatever time of the day it is for you guys. Have some good suffering. Bye bye!